Well, here we are. We hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and a nice, enjoyable weekend, no matter what the weather was. And now, of course, we've got rain and maybe some heavier downpours coming for the overnight period in the Northeast, followed by another shot of cold air that's going to carry us through much of this week. So we're going to be talking about that and a few other things in the week ahead in long range on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you too can be part of the fastest growing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned at the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video, and if you use the coupon code I want a weather station, Joe Rayo will now tell you what you will get.
You'll get 10 big percent off. 10%, Joe.
Yes, and it's a good gift for those of you who've got kids who are into science, or if you're got a dad who's a weather enthusiast, or a mom who's a weather enthusiast. Anyway, your Thanksgiving was okay?
Yeah, it went over very well. It get a larger than normal group this year, 12 people, and somehow or other, Renata managed to fit all 12 at the table. I honestly
miracle worker that she is.
I didn't think that we'd have enough room, but somehow she managed to work it out, and it all panned out very well.
They can do the loaves and fishes miracle. Yeah, all was good here. Nothing new. Nothing much going on. Just want to give everybody a heads up on the schedule this week because I have my mom's funeral at the end of this coming week to attend. I just want to let everybody know that we will not be on. We'll be on tomorrow, and we will be on Tuesday. But after Tuesday, we probably won't be back until late Sunday. So no show this Wednesday, no show this Thursday, no show this Friday and Saturday. And hopefully, if I get back in time, which I think I should, we will have a show here next Sunday. So mark your calendars down and don't be shocked if you don't see us on Wednesday or Thursday. So anyway, welcome to everybody on the chat board and to those of you who are in the background watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show for the first time, or maybe you're a regular lurker. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you don't miss any shows. We're usually on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and Fridays and Saturdays are off days unless there's a big storm around. And turn your notifications on so you don't miss it. Anyhow, I'm just a little subdued. The Giants won today, which, a whopping 10-7. I can't see the games here because they don't, this is the South. So we get the Atlanta Falcons. The Saints game was on here today, so I didn't get to see that barn burner offensive, powerhouse that both teams were in New England and the Giants for a 10-7 win. And the Jets played Friday and lost.
No, they didn't play. I mean, they played, but they really.
Right, they didn't. Right, exactly. It's a misnomer.
But yeah, and actually, the funny thing is that in today's Daily News, Mike Lupica, who is their senior sports guy, said it would be better for the Giants. They lost today.
Right, for the draft pick or something.
Yeah, exactly. And so now I'm sure that there are a certain percentage of Giant fans who actually said they can't even do that right now. They couldn't. They could have lost and helped in the upcoming draft, but they won. So, and DeVito, their third string quarterback, seems to be the growing hero now on the Giants. So.
Yeah, well, it's working. Whatever he's doing, it's working.
Yep.
All right, so we are in the season now where every run of the GFS is going to be taken to its natural Armageddon conclusion, and I kind of bring that up because of the fact that Joe, you know how much I loathe. Maybe loathe is not the right word. Maybe the word I'm looking for is a Bob Grant word. Despise. I despise forecast shopping. And I've kind of come to the point now where if somebody says to me, "Why are you saying this? Because so and so is saying that." If it's a social media type question, I've come to the point now where I'm just going to block that person. I'm just going to block that person. It's hideous that anybody would ask me or ask you or I questions, the premise of which is based on what someone else has said, which you probably haven't heard them say it. Okay, so you're getting this sort of second, third, fourth, or fifth hand. And it's crazy. It's just crazy. Forecast shopping should be illegal, and it's hazardous to your health, mainly because you're going to hack me off, and that's hazardous to anybody's health.
But even the promos that you see on the air tonight, not the promos, but I mean, one of the local weathercasters was talking about tonight's rain, but also saying, and some of you may see your first flakes. And I
Big
said, well,
deal.
gee, that
I put snow showers in the forecast for Tuesday. There's a big upper trough that's moving through the Northeast. I don't
right.
I don't think that's I don't think that's some sort of heavenly revelation.
But he made it sound as if, like, the average person saying, flakes, snow. You mean there's going to be a snowstorm this week? And that was the intention, I think, was to hold on and not switch around because you need to hear the next weathercast in 10 minutes. And then you're absolutely right. What it turned out to be was he showed the future cast. He showed a band of snow showers north and west of New York City on Tuesday afternoon. And well, if they hold together, maybe one or two of those may get through the tri-state area, and some of you may see your first snowflakes of the sea. Give me a break.
And both the Philadelphia and the New York, the Upton, New York Weather Services offices are parading the statistics that it's been in New York City. It's now 655 days since the last time New York City had got an inch of snow.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and Philadelphia is right there too at 600 and something. Philadelphia, I'm not sure. New York's at a record. Philadelphia is very close to a record, something like that. Yeah, it's been because it didn't snow. It's you didn't get an inch in one sitting last year in New York City. Now that is not true for other areas. Certainly, Joe, you can attest to that where you
Oh, yeah.
are, and the
Yeah.
same goes for Long Island and northern New Jersey. But um, not that you guys got really that much more, still way below normal. But the point is that at least where they measure in this one spot, that they haven't seen an inch of snow in a 24-hour period from any snow event at all, even if it's split over 2 days. Um,
There's something I made a discovery
in almost 2 years.
on Friday. I made a discovery because I drove my sister back home to Throgs Neck. And I lived in Throgs Neck for many many years, and I didn't even realize I had the GPS on, and it shows you also elevation. And I couldn't believe it, Joe. Where my sister lives, the apartment complex that she lives, it's the elevation is minus 12 feet.
It's
I didn't
minus
even,
12 feet.
and I said, what is this? Is this New Orleans? I didn't even realize that she's below sea level where she is. And in fact, a good part of the Bronx was at or below sea level.
Well, there you go. I mean, then you don't have to worry about elevation issues.
Yes, exactly.
On the other hand, if you want to take a measurement, perhaps if you go to the top of the Pelham Bay landfill, which I think they closed that a long time ago. I wonder if that's just sort of grown now as an extension to the park, but that goes kind of high because they used to have the garbage trucks have to climb all the way up. There was always stories about the fact that they were gonna make that a ski thing, so that you could ski right onto Pelham Parkway or the New England Thruway. It's just, I mean, just ludicrous stuff.
Well, actually, when I was heading home, I went over the drawbridge over the Hutchinson River, and the sea level went up to the elevation went up to 16 feet. I believe that drawbridge is 16 or 20 feet above sea level, or 16 to 20 feet clearance. So it seemed like that was just right. I mean, but I didn't realize how low can you go when you live in the Bronx. I'm actually at about according to the GPS, I'm at about 460 some odd feet, but right down the road it's almost 600 feet. So that's what helped. You know, if you call it help, March 14th of this past year,
Right.
on March 14th, we had 11 inches of snow. And meanwhile, people who are down in Cortland Manor, which is about 400 or 500 feet lower than where I am, said, well, what are you talking about? We had a little bit of snow. That's it. No big deal. So you talk about elevation snow. That was it. What a way to finish out the season
Well,
with an 11-inch snowfall.
I'm at 2,200 feet, so I've seen the benefits of that.
Yes.
Even though they've been small, I have seen the benefits of that. Well, we don't have snow in the forecast, although there are places not too far. If you want to get in your car and take your lawn chair so you can sit up outside on lake effect land and face Lake Ontario, you might do pretty well. We'll get to that in a moment. But in the meantime, we've got moisture coming up the east coast. There's a low that's developing right along the coast, and along with that, we've got a cold front that is swinging eastward. So with a redeveloping low that's going to squeeze out some extra moisture, and we're getting some rain after what was actually a fairly lovely stretch of weather overall. Although it was cold, certainly. Friday was it Friday morning or no Saturday morning? A couple of stations where the records had low hanging fruit, I noticed, set record lows, which is odd because you don't see record lows being set too often these days. But Reading, Pennsylvania was one, and I forgot who the other what the other station I saw was. But that, of course, the cold air is pulled out now, and we've got rain. Uh,
It
you know,
was so cold yesterday, Joe, at my house that I saw a turkey with a cape on.
yes, I saw that joke. I was not going to dignify this broadcast by repeating, especially because a capon, how shall we say, is lacking certain things. But
Yes.
we'll just leave it at that. By the way, Joe Rayo is monitoring the chat board even as we speak. And if you have any questions or comments or observations of any kind, do by all means share them with us here. Weather in the West is pretty quiet. There's been an absolute absence of major storm activity in the last couple of weeks, and that's probably going to go on for a while longer. It's been pretty quiet. The pattern is bringing down these cold, dry air masses, but it's been very benign. Uh, this is pretty ordinary here, what we're dealing with today. And if we go to the wide radar view, because Joe Rayo is going to take control in a second, we do have quite a bit of rain that has set up across the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states. And on that particular note, Mr. Rayo will be now taking us on a station-by-station adventure, and I'm sure he will take requests.
I'm just writing down here, Barry Goldberg. Thank you very much, Barry, for hitting the tip jar tonight. And he says, Joe, is this one of your favorites? How much snow will I get for my zip code?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Whatever
Yes.
the last two numbers of your zip code is how much snow you're going to get. How's that?
All right. Well, anyway, so off we go. And I hope this all comes out correctly. Because sometimes I put it up and I'm told I have to take it back down again. But what you're seeing on your screen, hopefully right now,
It's there.
is the Upton radar from the National Weather Service New York office out on eastern Long Island. And you could see that there's a band of, well, actually, I would call it in general, light to occasionally moderate rain. It seems like the heaviest cells or the heaviest areas, which is in yellow, is off to the south of Long Island for the moment. But this is the beginnings of what looks to be a period, at least from now till about midnight, of showery rains, and at times it'll come down somewhat heavily. Other times it may not be all that much, maybe a little bit of light rain. But in any case, we're dealing with this now, and we're going to be dealing with this. Temperatures right now are hovering mostly in the low 40s across the region. So even if you live, let's say north and west of New York City, up toward, let's say, Monticello or Kingston, you're probably going to be seeing wetness and not whiteness or even icy conditions. But it is kind of a chilly, raw day out there. It was for much of the day, and a lot of cloud cover too. And so that is New York. Let's check out other places. Let's say down toward Philadelphia, and on the Philly radar, you could see similar intensities, generally light to moderate. Although I am seeing on this particular radar scan a bit of a yellow or moderate, steady, moderate rain over in portions of northwestern New Jersey, and also in southeastern Pennsylvania, just to the north and west of Philadelphia. And again, all of this is moving on a southwest to northeast trajectory. Let's check out another spot here. Let's go down toward Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. And again, you can see that a lot of the activity, but a lot of the main activity is just offshore, just immediately adjacent to and just to the east of the Jersey shoreline. Down in Delaware, they're seeing mostly just light to occasionally moderate rainfall, although, again, some heavier doses of rain being picked up now near Wilmington, Newark, if you will, and that will persist for a little while. But already down here in the Delaware, Maryland area, you could see the back edge of this precip. It really is not going to last, I think, much beyond midnight tonight. After midnight, a lot of this activity will have ended, and we'll be just left with a lot of lingering clouds, which may actually begin clearing away for daybreak as a fresh, dry air mass builds in, but also a colder air mass as well. Let's go further up to the north. Let's see what's going on in the Albany area. In Albany, which is right here, they're just now getting into the precip. And again, it looks like it's mostly light to maybe moderate. In fact, there are some cells of heavier rain just to the north of the Albany area up here, and also off to the west. And again, this activity going from southwest to northeast. One last stop, if you will, we'll take a look at Box, which is, of course, Boston. And in Boston, they are probably going to be the last on our list here to see any significant precip. In fact, for the most part right now, they are dry, but not too far away to the west and to the southwest. Those showers affecting portions of Connecticut, and moving on into Rhode Island, western and central sections of Massachusetts. So Boston, too, will be getting wet probably in the next couple of hours. Any requests from you, Mr. Cioffi?
Let's see. You could go to the southeast if you like. By the way, talk about raw and miserable. That's what it was here today. I mean, Sundays are tough enough when the weather is nice, because Sundays here, it's very quiet. There's not a whole lot to do. Well, I shouldn't say that. There are things to do, but for the most part, stores are closed on Sundays. So restaurants are mostly closed on Sundays. But when it's raw and miserable like it was today at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Joe, I was 44 with light rain. I mean, it was just horrible. So you could do the Carolinas if you'd like.
Well, right now I've got Greenville, Spartanburg up on the radar loop here, and you can see that most of the action taking place south and east of Greenville, near the coastal plain of South Carolina. You said that you had a little bit of light rain where you were, Joe. It looks like that indeed there's some spotty light rain from north of Atlanta to just to your immediate south, now beginning to break up or dissipate somewhat. The heavier stuff moving off to the southeast across the southern and eastern sections of Georgia. And let's check out Florida. I'll go to Jacksonville. And Jacksonville has mostly a light to moderate rain activity there, although it doesn't look like much is happening further to the south. And let's see, where else? One more stop here. We can go or try to go to.
And then when you do that after this one, we might as well go someplace where it's snowing, so we could go to Michigan for that.
Well, let's see. Let's check out Grand Rapids. And there you go. Grand Rapids here, which doesn't look like they're getting a whole lot of snow, but uh, probably maybe a couple of inches, maybe. I didn't look at the snowfall forecast for the lower peninsula of Michigan, but they are seeing precipitation there, and it is cold. And we should point out that as it turns progressively colder again later tomorrow into Tuesday, there's going to be some kind of an upper level system that will be moving toward New York City. And it would not be at all surprising if perhaps New York picked up a brief snow flurry or snow shower before the day is over with on Tuesday afternoon.
I, I can't disagree. Brandon Doherty hit the tip jar. Also, thank you for hitting Super Chat, Brandon, on this Sunday night. And as we take a look at some of the watches and warnings, there's not a whole lot going on. We have winter storm watches and lake effect snow warnings out now for north central New York. Watches are up for Syracuse, but if you go north of Syracuse on I-81, you get into the lake effect snow warnings. Also in southwestern New York, northwestern Pennsylvania, and parts of northeastern Ohio. In the eastern portion of the lower peninsula of Michigan, I think I'm channeling a Vaughn Meter album here, Joe. I want the eastern portion of his Western sandwich, but that's kind of what we're describing here as far as Michigan is concerned. The lower peninsula, the western portion, particularly north of Grand Rapids, we've got winter weather advisories up. We also have some counties on the upper peninsula where we've got winter storm warnings. Otherwise, not much happening at all. Also, winter weather advisories in the northern counties of New Hampshire and in the northern counties of the great state of Maine. And when we're looking at snow amounts, these are the digital forecast snow amounts from the Weather Service. And you can see this area from northeastern Ohio uh, through northwest PA and then on up into southwestern New York of a foot plus, and surrounding areas getting less. Only an inch for Buffalo and Rochester, or just around an inch. But Syracuse, they're forecasting 6, and Utica forecasting 5. And then you go up I-81 up toward Pulaski and Watertown, where we've got a big yellow circle there with some white inside, which is greater than 36 inches being indicated east of I-81, probably in that area around Tug Hill and all the rest of it in upstate New York. And also, you can see some snow amounts of a few inches up in northeastern New Hampshire and on up into Maine, particularly in northern Maine and northwestern Maine near the Canadian border. That 21 you see is probably Mount Washington. And going back west into Michigan now with what they're dealing with, 2, 3, 4 inches. I don't know how much of this is already, on top of, whether it's on top of already what's already on the ground. I'm sure, much of what has fallen. I mean, much areas, judging by the radar, it looks like a lot of it is done near the lakeshore of Lake Michigan. And then on the upper peninsula, west of Sault Ste. Marie's got 11 in their forecast, and they got amounts of 9 to 12. Marquette just gets 4 up there on the UP, and let's just widen it out so we can see it a bit better here. And you see it there. Mounts tailing off to a coating to an inch in the surrounding areas in Wisconsin and up into northeastern Minnesota. So that kind of covers pretty much what's going on snow-wise in the forecast. WPC, in their Outlook, which I'm going to refresh now so that we can get an updated view of things. This is the probability for at least 2, or in some cases an additional 2. This starts at 7 o'clock tonight, or started at 7 o'clock tonight, and goes through 7 p.m. Wednesday night. So you're looking at high probabilities in western Michigan. There'll probably be some more with respect to lake effect that they're going to have to deal with. And then you can see the high probabilities in those areas where we have the lake effect snow warnings in northwest PA and southwest New York, as well as north central New York. I'm going to jump the probability to at least 8. And you see where those circles are. Very high probability the WPC is giving for the areas east of Lake Ontario in north central New York and north of Syracuse, and also in southwest New York. That salmon color is an 80% chance for at least 8 inches. And we'll take a look and see what's going on out west. I imagine not much. And looks pretty quiet with no snow in the forecast, no accumulating snows in the forecast in the western part of the U.S. For the next 72 hours. And on the 5-day rainfall liquid precip forecast, what you're seeing in the Northeast is pretty much front end loaded, Joe. A half to 3/4 of an inch. I think that's pretty fair. I also think there might be some places that could wind up with an inch or so of rain. I think parts of southern and southeastern New England might see a bit more. The lower and middle Mississippi valleys on the order of a half an inch to as much as a couple of inches down in southwest Louisiana. Not much in the southeast and down the east side of the Appalachians from Virginia to North Florida. The plains are quiet. The southwest is mostly quiet. And even the Pacific Northwest not showing a whole lot. Half-inch amounts right along a few pockets of coastal areas from just north of San Francisco to just west of Seattle. So it's not there doesn't seem to be anything too robust or out of control going on with the next 5 days as far as I can see.
And on the chat board, we have one of our people. I'm just going to try to find his message here. Yeah, William Smith. I think you're a little, you're complaining a little bit too early, William. Maybe if it were January or February. He says, Joe, Hackettstown, New Jersey needs snow.
It's early. It's even more than just early. Except for odd years here and there where you get something in November. Usually nothing happens till you get to the middle part of December, even in the areas inland. So yeah, it's too early.
Yeah, it's not like 1989 where we had 4.3 inches of snow on Thanksgiving morning. That was one of those weird situations. And the chairman hitting super chat and writes, Peter Sinks, Utah has begun the winter early. The national low this morning there. Peter Sinks, Utah, Joe, are you ready for this? Minus 41 degrees.
Oh, nice. What's their elevation? Didn't we look this up? Aren't they like at 10,000 feet or something, or some, really, outrageous elevation?
I don't really remember, but to have a minus 41 on the 26th of November anywhere in the contiguous United States, that's impressive.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. No question. No question. But again, the pattern overall to me looks like we're in I don't know. It's kind of odd in some respects because you've got certain things that you might look at and say, oh, it's great, we've got a block. Well, yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes the blocks aren't. We do, but it needs to be anchored in such a way where it forces troughs to drop into the eastern part of the United States in such a way so that you get cold air and you get some storminess. Well, it's not quite the way you need it to be. Let's just put it that way. And the Pacific right now is not exactly the way you would like it to be. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the atmosphere. I think we'll probably start to see this transition over to something a little more permanent, maybe around after the 10th of December. We'll see. But in the meantime, we keep getting these shots of cold air. And this next trough that's coming in now and for the first half of this week goes all the way down into Florida. So this is a fairly extensive shot of cold air. And when you get down to 20s this time of year, that's pretty cold. But we've got that feeding in. And we do have some blocking. Make no mistake, there is some blocking here. But again, it's not quite right to get what everybody's looking for, which is an accumulating snowfall for areas for the northern mid-Atlantic on up through the coastal plain.
It's going to come, folks, but it's not going to come immediately. It's not going to come right now. So just hold on to your snow shovels for the moment.
And I think what we're just going to keep seeing is cold air shots that are going to come out, and then they'll pull out, warms up and rains, and then you get a cold shot again. And this is kind of how it's playing out now with this deep trough, because as we get toward the end of the week, even though the block across Greenland strengthens, it's more of a block that goes over the top. You want the blocks to sort of push in to Labrador and force the vortex that you see in Hudson Bay here on Thursday night, to force that vortex down further south. And it's not enough. Let's put it that way. It's just not enough. So this East Coast trough will lift out, but yet it will be cold here probably, starting Monday night, because tomorrow's not going to be too bad because you're going to be behind this front. But starting Monday night, and then during the day Tuesday is the whole upper trough. And by the way, that's a pretty decent short wave that's swinging through on Tuesday. You can see that dark blue spot across New York State and Pennsylvania. That'll be the trigger mechanism for, it's probably going to be one of those days, Joe, we'll have self-destructive sunshine early on, and then you'll have a lot of clouds and buildups and probably some bands that show up on the radar of snow showers, and then that goes through. Eventually, that trough lifts out. You see a lot of troughing in the Pacific is dropping into the West Coast, so you really don't have much ridging there, at least for now. And in fact, the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd, we actually get a bit of a ridge here along the eastern seaboard with a storm system that may come out next weekend. So we'll probably warm up after this spell of 3 days plus of colder weather, and then again, probably another cold shot as we go into the week, starting a week from Monday, a week from tomorrow. Another cold shot in the east. The model does seem to want to drop a fairly deep trough into the eastern United States for that week. I think if you're looking for an early snowfall, what you have to hope for is, if we do get back into this troughing a week from tomorrow, for the week of beginning December 4th, that there's some kind of shortwave or a diver that comes down in the flow. This particular one happened to show that to a small extent. It's not a big deal, but that's probably the only way you're going to get it, because the Gulf of Mexico for now is cut off. The Atlantic will be cut off, and there's just no way you're going to be able to do anything with the trough right on the East Coast, as opposed to being just to our west along 80, for example. And then as that lifts out, another trough drops into the east. So, and then you finally get some ridging. Now, this is December 12th. You finally, toward the end of the forecast period, do get the Pacific to improve in terms of its overall picture. And a couple of people that I talk to and have respect for are looking at this for the middle part of the month of December and saying maybe that'll be the time where things start to really change in terms of settling a pattern, a primary pattern for the winter months. We'll see.
I could tell you that over the holiday weekend, I was periodically going to Dr. Judah Cohen's Twitter page, or no, excuse me, pardon me, his X page. It's so stupid. I mean, like formerly known as Twitter, and that's they keep calling it. Call it something. Just Anyway, Dr. Cohen seems rather confused, and he says he's not really sure about the way things are stacking up for the month of December, that it can go either way. And it sounds, Joe, like almost like what some of his discussions and blogs that he posted last winter, when it seemed like he kept waiting for something to happen, but never really did.
Yeah, look, it's always a mystery. A few people, there are people that love to claim they know exactly what's going to happen, and nobody does. I mean, we really just don't. We just have to we just sort of follow it along. That's to me, that's the fun of it. It always has been, to just kind of, watch it evolve and takes you down some sort of road that you don't know where it's going to ultimately go, but you sort of see the possibilities. And I just kind of think that that's what makes this game a lot of fun for those of us who are love watching weather from day to day.
And that's the way it should be. I sometimes dream about being able to go back in time, but have knowledge or access to the weather maps, like let's say in advance of the Lindsay snowstorm or the.
Oh, so you're basically, what you're doing is you're writing a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, yeah, like that. Here it is. If I were on television, let's say, and it's July 1977, I'd say, and don't forget to tune in next week when I reveal to you the dates of all the big snowstorms in the New York City metropolitan area, and of course, two of them, January 20th and February 6th. The second one being the blizzard of '78. How did he know that? How could he do something like? Well, I had prior knowledge. Of course, I also would have prior knowledge of other historic events, but I didn't care to
Well, if,
reveal.
if it's a Twilight episode, if it's a Twilight Zone episode like that you're describing, you would have to give something up in order to have that power.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You would have to give something up in order to have that power. So just right. Uh, on the other hand, you'll really come in handy when it comes to booking vacations.
If you hear a phone in the background, it's my
Is that the Chinese takeaway?
no, it's my son's mother-in-law, my daughter-in-law's mother.
Hyacinth bouquet on
Yes.
keeping up appearances.
Yeah.
No, I do not want a portion of the number 41 or side order of number 22.
This is Rayo picked up upstairs, which means that she is no longer with us and probably will not be with us now for the remainder of the show.
Okay.
Chatting with anyway.
All right. Well, here's our rain for tonight. I'm just going to run through the GFS real quick because there's not a whole lot happening here. So here's our rain for tonight. And then it starts to turn colder, but really tomorrow night and Tuesday, 516 thickness, Joe, not too shabby for by Tuesday evening. This upper trough will be coming through. There'll also be a bit of a gusty wind, I think, as we go into Tuesday with this upper trough going by. So it's going to be not only cold, with temperatures I doubt get out of the 30s, but it's going to feel a lot colder than that. And then as we move toward the end of the week itself looks dry. Looks like the GFS wants to bring rain here as early as Friday night into Saturday with a low that goes by it's basically a running wave that goes from Kansas on up northeast into the eastern Canada with a cold front and some showers Friday night, and then a better weekend. A decent start to the weekend, and then a more important low comes out for maybe Sunday night into Monday. I'm not sure of the timing here with this because the European's a little different with how it wants to evolve this. And then after that, it turns cold again. And there's a little diver sometime around the 7th or 8th, which apparently, that's the social media buzz about this, to keep the 7th and 8th, or whatever it is. All right, whatever you say. And then after that, it's cold and dry, on and on. Cold air moves out, new cold front moves in. You get the story, folks. Not going to get any nor'easters or anything like that over the next couple of weeks.
It would seem that way. And in fact, both the 6 to 10 and the 8 to 14 day outlook from CPC have virtually the entire country above normal, probability-wise. If you want to take a look, I'll bring those maps up.
Yeah, go ahead. Now, the time frame for the 6 to 10 day, I will give them this. The time frame for the 6 to 10 day is next weekend. And we're going to be in a bit of a ridge position next weekend. So it kind of makes sense for them to do that for that period for the 6 to 10.
And here we go.
Because lately they've been not really doing very well with these.
This 6 to 10 is 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this dark shade of red here, which covers a good part of the eastern and eastern United States into part of the Ohio Valley and Midwest, this dark shade of red, and actually, let me see here. In fact, if I zoom in, there's an even darker shade here. So, and that doesn't quite, actually, you're right on the edge, Joe, between two shades here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right here in the southeast, right here, is a region where they are suggesting or indicating 70 to 80% probability of above normal temperatures. Then here comes 60 to 70%. And New York is not quite in the 60 to 70% range. We're in the 50 to 60% range, but they have that in the likely above category. So from December 2nd to December the 6th, and the second is next Saturday. So starting next Saturday, running on into the early part of the following week, above normal temperatures.
Yeah, and again, that makes sense given the fact that we're going into a ridge position after this trough pulls out. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
And then we go to the 8 to 14 day outlook, which is the 4th through the 10th of December. And look at this. Aside from southern Texas and the Gulf Coast of Louisiana, which will be near normal, everywhere else they have above normal probability for temperatures, and that includes the tri-state New York area.
And well, what's the first date on the 8 to 14?
The first date?
Yeah.
Would be December 4.
December 4. Okay.
4 to 10.
So that's the Monday. Okay, so I'm gonna. I may. I may. Hang on. I gotta just look at something really fast. I'm okay with the 4th being above normal, and maybe the 5th to a small extent, but after that, no. They're wrong. No.
I can't even tell you who did the map because.
Well, no, don't put his name out publicly. It could be a problem.
Well, you can't on the weekends. They only give you the maps. They don't give you the prognostic discussion or the person who wrote the discussion or did the map up. So.
Well, they're not exactly batting 1,000 over there at CPC lately with the 8 to 14 and even the 6 to 10, but the 8 to 14 in particular, and then the 3 to 4 week forecast. Which didn't they do that on Friday?
The 8 to 14? Yes, they did. Excuse me, the 3 to 4 week?
Yeah.
Yes, here's the 3 to 4 week outlook.
All
that
right,
takes you all the way to the beginning of winter. Winter starts on December 21st, so it takes you to December 22nd. And the northern tier of the United States. This is your typical El Nino outlook with above normal temperatures across the northern tier of the United States. Below normal down toward where you are, Joe, in part of the southeast. Let's just see what the precipitation forecast is. And you see, typical El Nino, where you have the wettest area down across the southern tier, and you have below normal precipitation over part of the northern plains and into the Great Lakes area. That's a flat out, straight out El Nino forecast, both in terms of temperature and precipitation on the 3 to 4 week precipitation outlook and temperature outlook.
Just running through the last night's 0Z and shambles. Somebody, I think it was Gary Brown, who watches the show like the next day because I think he works. But he usually watches the show the next morning. So he calls Mrs. Ann Mrs. Ann Shambles.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing revealing in the ensemble, so I'm going to save it for a day where, oops, we disappeared there for a minute.
Forecast is suddenly going dark.
Yes, I know. Just a second. Let's see if I have to get you to unshare and share again. Yeah, Joe, can you just share and unshare again, please?
Sure, why not?
So that we could fix this technical glitch that shows up every once in a while.
And now I'm going to stop sharing.
All right, now I'm going to see if I can bring you back. Yes, I got you. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have Briller Jeopardy for tonight?
Yes, I do.
Oh, let's do it.
Well, why not? Whoa. Come on, Scott. Let me find your message here. There it is. And he says that we are going to continue our series on the lowest temperatures per state. And so that first state tonight, the lowest temperature ever recorded in the state of Oklahoma.
Oh, where the wind comes blowing down the plain, right?
Yes.
I'm going to say...
I'll tell you the place. I don't know if that'll help you or not, but it's Nowata, Oklahoma.
I was there just yesterday. I'm going to say minus 37.
You know, when you said minus 30, I said, "Oh my God, the man is going to hit it right on the nose."
And then I said minus
Unfortunately,
37, and I didn't.
unfortunately, it went a little bit too cold.
Okay, but I'm in the general vicinity therein.
You are therein, and we've got people on the chat board. Gerasimos Stasinos, 53. A little bit too warm, Gerasimos.
Norm Roberts says minus 35.
Yeah, that's a little too cold.
Chuck
Grace. What is Chuck? Chuck Cardillo had
minus 30.
But Northern Grace got it, minus 31.
And so did Bill Uber at minus 31.
Yes.
All right, next.
And Adam Lowe wants to point out that the problem with NOAA is that they seem to follow the CFSV2, no idea what that is, which give no snow and record warm for the whole winter. Just look at its monthly forecast.
Yeah.
Adam, I wish I could say I'm well acquainted with the CFSV2.
I am. So the CFS CFS stands for can't forecast, and then fill in your favorite S word. Okay.
And on that note, let's go on to Oregon. Oregon. And the lowest temperature for that state is tied between two places, Seneca and Ukiah, Oregon.
I'll say minus. Well, like they get those Arctic air masses sometimes that come down in the west. They get brutal. I'll say minus 47.
Not cold enough, but I will tell you this. Krishnapedia, so close with minus double nickels, 55.
Minus 55. Wow. That's cold. But yeah, your chat board. Oh, yeah, there they go. Minus 55. Chuck Cardillo, minus 51. Okay.
Maggie P, you got it. Minus 54.
Minus 54. Well, God, from land to Goshen.
Yes.
Next.
Swethport, I do believe I'm pronouncing correctly, Swethport, Pennsylvania. That is where the record low for the Keystone State is. What is it? Pennsylvania.
Minus. Let's see, New York's minus 52. And I'll say minus 48.
Cold, but a bit too cold, Joe.
Too cold. Okay. Rich Rothmansky says minus 42.
And minus 42 is the correct answer.
Very good.
Rich Rothmansky at minus 42.
Next.
Doing pretty good. Little Rhodey, Rhode Island. Wood River Junction, Rhode Island is the record holder there.
Oh, God. That's tough. Minus.
Because basically we're talking about a coastal plain state.
Yeah. And it's not exactly, it's kind of flattish. I'll say, I don't know. I don't even know how to go with this. I'll say minus 29.
First of all, Rich Rothmansky, you will not get a year's supply of turtle wax for that.
No. Right.
Chuck Cardillo also says minus 29. And both of you did very well in that regard, Joe. But Pat BFD got it right on the nose with minus 28.
Oh, okay. Just missed it by one then.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that if it was a snake, it would have bit me.
Yes.
All right.
Last one. Caesar's Head, South Carolina.
Caesar's Head, South Carolina. So that's probably in the northwestern part of the state. It's probably up in the mountains. I forgot what the number was for Mount Mitchell. I'll say minus 28.
Too cold, Joe.
Okay. Yeah, because the South Carolina mountains, it's like right on the edge of the northern part of the state, and it's, there's not a whole lot of, we're not talking about a large area, square miles. I don't know what the highest peak is. Well, we got William Uber at minus 22.
Yes, but you know what?
What?
Somebody on the chat board already hit it. Chuck Cardillo
Chuck Cardillo.
Cardillo. Blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Minus 19.
Minus 19.
Well, very good.
And
Huh.
Frank Scalera, too, with minus 19.
Yeah, those kind of numbers when you see them though. Those are like at least once in every generation, or maybe even two generations, that you get a setup with the kind of air masses that produce uh, those ridiculous numbers. And I just wonder. I'd be curious as to the years, because I wonder if you repeat that, what would what the media coverage would be like. For example, if we ever had a setup that would repeat the all-time record low, say of minus 15 in New York City. New York City got repeated.
Right.
Can you imagine? They would be crawling things all day long, even worse than they are now. Like they'd have a thermometer up permanently in the corner of the screen to show the temperature going down or something. If it was going to go down to if it was going to go down to like minus 10 or minus 15.
If I recall correctly, on the day that New York City hit minus 15, they did not reach zero until something like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I think the high that day was something like 4 or 5.
Right, and 2 days later it warmed up and rained.
Yes,
it was it was in the low 40s, and I don't think they saw a flake or an ice pellet. It warmed up and rained.
Right.
Well, you get an air mass like that that's so extreme, it's going to pull out. You're going to get, you're going to get a bounce. You're going to get a quick bounce up. It's not like it's going to stay there when it gets down that low.
The only way we could even approach that, and I don't think we've been any lower than in the last 30 or 40 years. I don't think Central Park has gotten any lower than minus 1 or minus 2. The only way we could ever approach minus 15, probably not reach it, but approach it, would be if we had something like a 15 or 20-inch snowstorm, and all of it fell late afternoon into the overnight hours, and that was immediately, and I do mean immediately, followed by a blast of very frigid air.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean you would need some kind of a vortex where the upper low just literally, because in that particular case it was like, a really deep trough, and the surface high that came down was like a 1070 something high that came down from Canada and moved right down to the mid-Atlantic coast. I mean,
Right.
it just shot it right down that way. So yeah, I mean these are the sorts of things that happen every 40 or 50 years. Maybe you could make an argument to say that we haven't seen something like that happen in so long. That maybe one of these winters we'll see something like that. I just would be curious. I'd be curious at the kind of coverage it would get. That to me is more interesting. Almost, not that the weather part isn't interesting, of course it is, but I would really be curious as to what kind of weather coverage uh, you would get. People, weather people outside, basically, dressed up in parkas to the point, and wearing, facial coverings, so because they freeze in place, this sort of thing. I just would like to see it. I would like to see that.
And Chris Napedia, yes. Tonight is actually, it does not turn full until I think 4:30 tomorrow morning, but the moon is full tonight. Can't see it from here in the tri-state area because of the clouds and the rain. It's also the traditionally
It's
the
the
November
beaver moon. Go to Buc-ee's. The beaver moon. Buc-ee's.
Yes.
All right, let's call it a night, shall we?
Yes, surely. And thank you again to the chairman who hit Super Chat again. So let's just quickly go down the list here. Twice for the chairman on the tip jar tonight, Brandon Doherty, and kicking it off tonight was Barry Goldberg. We thank you all for this post-Thanksgiving bevy of Super Chat.
All right, and just a couple of side notes here, because we don't do much in the way of shameless self-promotion here. Okay, but we really don't. I can't help what YouTube does when they throw ads up, but for the most part, we do a lot of programming here with not much commercial interruption. So I just want to just mention two things. One, of course, is the fact that the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by our affiliate, Tempest by WeatherFlow. You can get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. Use the coupon code I want a weather station for any purchases you make there, and if you do, you will get
10% off.
And the other thing I just want to mention is tomorrow is Cyber Monday. Right? Tomorrow's Cyber Monday for shopping.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so if you shop on Amazon, on the descriptor of this video, because I'm an Amazon influencer, just so you know. But there is a link there. Just you can go. All you got to do is click on the link, and Amazon will throw us back a little bit of coin, and I emphasize a little bit, a little bit of coin. So it would be great if you did. If you do shopping on Amazon, you can use that as your starting point, and that throws a little coin our way, and we certainly appreciate it. We always appreciate everybody's generosity when it comes to super chat or super thanks or any of the other ways that you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show. So I just wanted to give that a quick mention. Okay, so we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m.
And you mentioned a brief little, part of the First Family album earlier in
Yes.
the show.
Yes.
I'll have the
eastern portion of his Western sandwich. Yes.
and that we don't normally.
It was Khrushchev.
Yes, we don't normally promote other websites or web pages or podcasts, but if you have not already done so, and if you are like I am, very much into the assassination of John F. Kennedy. 60 years ago was the anniversary just a few days ago. Believe it or not Walter Cronkite, well, he's dead now anyway, but not a well-known newscaster or news anchor, but of all people, the guy who was on All in the Family for a number of years, the guy who played Mike Stivic, who Archie Bunker referred to as Meathead.
Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner has produced an incredible podcast, and I just got hooked on it. I listened to the first day. He's going to do it on a weekly basis. It'll be the update will be this coming Wednesday. It'll be number 4. There's going to be 10 parts to this podcast. He's already done 3. You can listen to all 3. You have to search around, I guess. Go Google Rob Reiner, JFK, whatever. You'll find the podcast. Joe, it is riveting, and he also does it with Soledad O'Brien, who's a well-known newscaster, and together they have put together just stuff that I didn't even know of, and I always considered myself a student of the JFK assassination, but he's already in three podcasts, which are roughly 40 minutes long. Very fascinating, very compelling, and in fact, Rob Reiner says that before this is all over, said and done, they're going to name names. So if you're wondering who actually was the person who may have shot at JFK, listen to these podcasts because it really was interesting. Like I said, I just listened for the heck of it. I said, well, I'll listen for a few minutes, and I got hooked. And I ended up listening to all 3 episodes that have been done. And episode number 4 in the podcast out of 10 will be this coming Wednesday. So if you have nothing better to do and you want to listen to something different, tune in to Rob Reiner on his own personal documentary about the Kennedy assassination. It's interesting, and he's absolutely right. Little dribs and drabs come out, or have come out, over the 60 years that this mystery has been going on. The most recent was that Secret Service agent about a month ago, Joe, you may have heard about this, the guy who actually had the bullet.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he said he placed it right next to Kennedy for somebody to find, and they used that bullet as the bullet involved in the magic bullet theory of how one bullet went through Kennedy and John Connally. And as Rob Reiner posted on his 3rd podcast that I listened to today, He said that totally blows the whole single bullet theory in the Warren Commission out of the water. So
Right.
check it out. It's really very, very interesting. And maybe if Rob Reiner's tuned in right now to Joe and Joe, he'll go
Well,
on.
he is a regular watcher of the Joe and Joe weather.
Listen to Joe and Joe for the best weather coverage, and if you want the best documentary on the Kennedy assassination, go to his podcast as well.
All right, I'll give Rob your best.
Yes,
and we'll see everybody tomorrow night at 7:30. Nighty night.
Nighty night, folks.